Hello, my name is Deirdre. I've been a teaching artist for about 12 years here in Skagit County, and today I'm going to lead you through a mixed media drawing project. What's mixed media, you say? It's any type of art that's combining several types of either paint or pencils or collage, mixing it up. So let's get started. Once you've decided on a subject, such as flowers or a plant, I want you to start planning your composition. So I want you to look at the overall shape that your subject makes. I want you to look at the negative space. What are the spaces that you see around, not just the subject, but around it? Notice that the leaves are long ovals and your flower petals might be circular or triangular shaped. You might have a big circle that you're working around. But really pay attention to what this shape is around your flowers. And you are also welcome to not do parts of your subject. You might not want to use that particular branch. So again, you're looking at the overall shape before you plan your composition. So another idea for a still life is if you don't happen to have some flowers just kicking around, nobody gave you a bouquet, you can look around your house for some other kind of plants. I often have these kind of cuttings that I intend to plant and I just haven't gotten there yet. But these guys, this angel wing begonia, there's a lot of really interesting shapes, almost like a human heart. So all these really super interesting shapes. You've got a lot of negative space that could be interesting. You've got these really interesting veins on the backs of the leaves and all the patterns that are just kind of built in and texture built into this angel wing begonia. I almost think I like this better than the bouquet of flowers. So here we are, using a piece of some kind of notebook, sketchbook, on another piece of sketchbook as a background. So I'm making a plan. When you're making art, you try to avoid putting something exactly in the center of your paper. That's called the rule of thirds. You usually want your subject to be just slightly over a little bit and maybe up a little bit, or conversely fill up your whole page. But when you do something just right in the center, it just doesn't look visually appealing. I am going to choose where the bottom, so this is going to be my vase. And I'm just going to kind of loosely decide where the top of it is. So my fishy vase. Oh, I already kind of made it too wide. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Remember, drawing and art is practice. I'm going to throw a lot of details. I'm just going to hint at it. I can already see that I've made it too short. And I'm looking at the space. And I'm just going to kind of do the overall shape of it first. And I know that that is my sunflower shape, and this other shape. Throwing in some more definition. The shapes in the background. Not getting carried away. I don't want this to be a 2-week project. And sunflowers, not as tidy as you might think. Some of their petals, if you noticed, are sticking up. Some are bent down. Some are totally curled. So it makes it look a little bit more realistic if you show that the petals aren't perfect. However, if you want, you're also, as an artist, you edit all the time. If you don't want to have these in your way, if you want to pretend like you can completely see the center of your sunflower, then go for it. It's your drawing. So I'm using just kind of a random watercolor pencil, but I'm going to stop using it pretty soon and add some color. That's the cat. We are working in our home studio, so you might have an animal intrusion, as I do. All right, so meanwhile, back to my vase. I'm going to add another detail. Remember, this is kind of a fishy shape. Going to redefine it a little bit. So when we're working on something like a still life, it's really nice to give it a place to be. Right now it's floating in space, so if I just simply drop in a line behind it, all of a sudden it's sitting on a table. If you want to put in a cast shadow, add a little weight to your vase, you can do that too. So I'm smoothing this out a little bit, kind of bottom weight that. Although I do really like these scale shapes, I don't know that I want to do them super accurately. I'm just going to kind of hint at them. It looks like they change shape a little bit as they go down the fish. They're kind of fun to play with. So as you're doing these little bumps, they go from bump to bump to bump. So as you're working on a drawing like this, I want you to think about working the whole drawing, not just stay in one spot, like get that vase perfect, and then by the time you get back up to your flower arrangement, you're kind of tired and you forgot where you were. So work down here a little bit, come back, think about this area. Do you want anything else showing up? If you forgot a few things, you can put them in. And then come back up, see how you're liking that composition. If you need some more details or if you want to go ahead and switch out your media. I think I do. I'm going to go ahead and put my pencil aside and stop for a break and get something else. All right, now we're ready to, I pulled aside some colored pencils, selected kind of my yellows and greens of my Sharpies. I have my scissors ready because I might add some of my old watercolor paper, cut some shapes. I scrounged up a glue stick. I'm sure you have one around, or find something that works as glue. I'm going to start with, there's a lot of different colors in the vase, so I'm going to just have to do my own thing. I can't paint glass. I won't even pretend to know how to do that, but I can kind of experiment with some different kinds of Sharpies. So I'll do a little experimental one. Just kind of see how that feels. Remember, this is all about practice, and have fun with it and experiment. Find a shape you really like. Like I happen to be drawn to these scale shapes. And these are some, I don't know, some really inexpensive kind of fake Sharpies I found someplace. There's kind of a minty one. Just having a variety of greens. Might see what some white colored pencil does on this. We like that look. I kind of like it. Ooh, I do like it. We have a winner, folks. So now, maybe I don't like that other green anymore. Maybe I want to cover it up. Oh, it's not going to cover, but it is going to change it. Or maybe we want to just halfway do it. Anyway, I'm looking for different textures, different colors, a little bit of variety in the line, not just making everything the same. And I'm not someone to really need everything filled in perfectly. Not at this stage. We're still in this experimental, trying out our media. Do a little more for our white. I really like the Prismacolor pencils because they're softer, easier to use. They just lay down more color than your Crayola or other types, but use what you have. Okay, so I can keep working on that later. It's on the way. Reflection in there. this is the light is hitting this side the most. So I'm going to remind myself of that and put a little white in these scales, little highlights there. And then I'm going to come back later and add some green because remember I told you we have to work on multiple parts. I want you to think about the whole project, not just, I did focus in on that, but now I'm going to work up and start working on my flowers up here a little bit. So good old yellow Sharpie doesn't show up so well because it is transparent. So now it looks kind of yucky, but we're going to use it anyway, and then we're going to keep adding on to it. If you have tempera around your house, that would probably work really nicely on the backs of cereal boxes or the backs of notebooks. It'd show up really well. So I've got some pretty tricky colors in my flower arrangement that I'm definitely not going to be able to recreate with Sharpie. However, I can kind of approximate it by just adding a few dots of other colors. So I found this kind of goldy brown color, and if I stipple, I can try and get some texture, which that's not showing up so well either. It is okay for making shadows. So maybe my colored pencil might show up a little better. Yeah, looks like colored pencil is the ticket for this kind of surface. So bringing in the light here. So you have to be patient and experiment and just keep trying things, which is the same as experimenting, but said in a different way. So that's a start on that sunflower. And to me, it looks like it could use a little orange now that I'm looking at it a little bit more. Maybe a little layer of orange in there. Definitely with colored pencils, the name of the game is to layer. So even though I threw some orange down, now that looks too bright. Do yellow on top of it again. So I'm getting kind of fussy. I'm going to move on to another spot and let this just kind of hang out. So I've got some kind of pinkyish flowers. That pen's kind of dead, but even if you have a pen that's kind of dried up, it might add some really nice texture. So think about being resourceful and just use that dried up pen. Might get some really nice texture. So I'm just thinking about this in layers, like, okay, I'm gonna put a little yellow here, knowing I'm gonna come back and throw in some green, keeping it super loose here. Just filling in that negative space that we talked about. This may not look anything like what I started out with, but that's okay too, because it's just to get you started. You have a still life because it stays in one place. It gives you something to start off of, but you absolutely don't have to have it look exactly like what's in front of you. So this drawing and making art is your expression, and you can choose to highlight whatever you would like. All right, so let's swing in with a little bit of green. What that's doing. I'm just kind of giving it a try over here. And let's switch over to, I don't know if I had a good pink. This might be the wrong pink. I'm noticing now that these little stems are more of a pink. So this is a pretty bright color. Might not have been the right choice, but I'm jumping in now. I noticed that these greens have like a pink vein on the back. And I can always cover them up again later. So I've studied my project so far, and I have a plan. I'm going to use some of my kind of reject watercolor experiments, and I'm going to try and just cut pieces and surround my vase and make this as the table covering. After that, I've noticed that I need a lot more green up here in my flower arrangement. I have barely any green, so I want to focus on putting more green up here, do a little bit more on my vase, and then we will finish it up later. I have another piece of cereal box down here so that I don't get glue all over my table. I'm going to kind of estimate my table bottom, my tablecloth. Doesn't need to be perfect. So, okay, so that's looking pretty neat. And I can, yeah, I'm just going to kind of guess. Actually, I'm going to just kind of put it in pieces. Making a plan as I go. So that's going to get me started. I don't know how long this will stay. Stay at all. It's like glue stick and cereal box don't really get along. Maybe this could go here. Back and we can add some more paint and texture and integrate that a little bit more. It looks interesting. I don't know if I'll keep it or not. Okay, here is my final piece of art. I added a little bit of a white watercolor just to add some texture in the background. Just added a little bit more Sharpie and shiny Sharpie pen and a little bit more colored pencil. Filled in my vase a little more. Anyway, just add a little bit more definition. I could keep going on it, or I could say that's good for now and take what I've worked on and move on to another piece of art. So I hope that you have enjoyed working on a mixed media picture of flowers or whatever else happened to stay still long enough for you to draw. Join me next time. Thanks.